What's up, fellas? It's Sunday. Everybody's at the track but me. I'm sitting here. Didn't have anything to really take up there still. The red car don't want to shift in a second under any kind of urgency. I hope to address that when I take the engine out. And the LTD's got the same issue, something with the transmission. It'll sometimes make noises, pop out of gear. There's something floating around in there, I think, that I just don't want to get stuck along the highway or at the track with. So that one's just kind of sitting until I get it in the garage, well, after I get the engine done for it. But today we're working on the an intake manifold, a carbureted intake manifold. It's the one for Eric. I'll show you what we're doing. So you can tell, that ought to give you a little hint what's going on. So first thing, I weighed it and it was like 16.5 pounds. Well, right now we're at 15 with this one. I still have to take out these two things. I got them out of the other side. So what I did was just drill holes around there. I could have broke out my little reciprocating pneumatic saw, but a hammer and a chisel works just fine, just a little more caveman. And then that's what it's like after you get the chunk knocked out. And then that's how it looks after. Just take a carbide burr, run it around there, kind of smooth it out a little bit. And it takes some weight out of there, and it gets more airflow around the runners to keep it cool. These are a little tough to port because it can't get in, like up in here, the top part of here, and the back side of this. The same with here. So what I'm trying to do, this is going on Eric's car, the little Calypso coupe. The intention is just to see how it works compared to what he's got now. He's got a stock one, and just gonna run it, gonna do some work on this one and then swap it and put it on, see how it makes if it makes a difference at all. This one was already ported a little bit. They just opened up the runners here at the end. So I just got them a little more even. There were some little wobbly, crooked in some spots. So all they did was use a sanding roll. I didn't have to use a burr. And then I'm trying to make the inside here, on the inside of the corner where it turns, make it a little taller so air is more likely to turn easier. And then keeping the outside rough with a 36 grit roll here on the outside, and then 100 in here. And then I'm going to use a burr finish on the bottom. That's the plan. And the plenum is just, from what I gathered, the middle two runners on each side flow really good. It's the ones on the outside need help. So this divider here is just trying to open it up. So it's kind of more air is likely to go in here versus here. And then when I get done, I'll measure the taper for each one to try to get all the runners as equal as I can in taper. And then we'll, get it, like I said, go put it on the car and see how it works. So there's a lot of videos online, a lot of pictures. I can post a thread on Yellow Bullet. It's got all kinds of pictures of, there's a thread with cylinder heads, a thread with cylinder heads. There's one for intake manifolds specifically. So, and it's good to just kind of look at them and see how they are, and it kind of gives you an idea what you're shooting for, I guess. What you want to get rid of, what you don't need to have, what's unnecessary in a port or a head. So I'll put all that up, and then you'll be able to see when we go to the track again how it works out. Alrighty, appreciate y'all. Later. What's up, fellas? So I wrapped up the intake for Eric's car, the Victor Jr., and doing some comparisons of the runners, individual runners, because some of the videos I saw online were talking about the guys had a flow bench so they could compare actual flow amongst the runners and do things to get them so they all flowed the same. I don't have that. I would like to, but then on the other hand, if I had one of them, I probably wouldn't get anything else done. So what I did I'll get you off here and show you what was going on. I gotta turn this off, the camera off, so I can flip it around. There we go. All right, so this is it. Kind of got it wrapped up, I think. So I wanted to check the taper on the runners, because a taper is like almost like a funnel. If you got a taper and you go from big up here to littler down here, that's a high degree of taper, and that contributes to higher RPM horsepower. If you don't have a high degree of taper, then that tends to have benefit torque. So like we saw on the Hollies have a lot of taper, because up in the upper it's a really big inlet, but then when you get down to the head it's a little smaller, but then you also got all that runner length. So what I found on these is I thought I could make them all the same, but I can't, because they're different from the factory for a reason. So the way they are, so number 1 is the same as number 8, 2 is the same as 7, 3 is the same as 6, and then 4 is the same as 5. And I think what they're trying to do is to cover like a broad RPM range, whereas if they had they were all the same, it would tend to be peakier. They did the same on the truck upper. That's actually two. There's like an upper level and a lower level. So the upper level, I think it was the upper level had smaller runners into it, and then they went to one side, and then the lower level had bigger runners, so they were shorter, and they went to the other side. And then the exhaust kind of assisted that, because the exhaust pipe coming out on one side was like 2.5, and then I think the other side was like 2 inches or something like that. I never measured it, but I noticed it when I was taking the 19 apart. I was like, that's weird. And then it dawned on me what was going on. So you can look down in here, you might be able to see this runner is the same height, but it's wider, whereas this one is a tick longer, but it's also narrower. And you can see here on the outside, see how the height of this one is different than over here, because this one is like this, so it's going to be a little taller up here, but then this one will be a little wider. So their degree of taper is pretty similar. It's 0.7 and 0.6, and then number 1 is 0.3, and then number 4 is 0.97, which is, like I said, it's bigger. You can see it with the naked eye without having to measure compared to this one. Excuse me. So I'm leaving it the way it is. I don't have the tools or the ability to figure out which is the best way to go. So basically what I did was just opened up the runners to match a set of stock twisted wedges, and then, because the way they are from the factory, these were made up to an E7 head. The way they are, just almost virtual same size. So open these up a little bit to match like a twisted wedge, which will take a 1250 gasket. And then I just rounded some of the corners off, took a lot of the flashing out. There's no sharp edges. These don't flow as much as the center ones. So what I did was kind of push the corner, move this edge over here to guide more air into the corner ports. And then the same up here. Oops. And then I kept the floors rough, carbide burr texture, and then the outside what I could reach, and then the inside of the runners are smoother. The inside, all the turns are smoother, and then the outside the turn is rougher. The idea being the rougher texture is supposed to help airspeed. So if it's rougher, it's going to be faster. So I thought, well, maybe if I have the airspeed go faster on the outside of the corner, it'll help it. I don't know if that's real or not. It's just a crazy notion I had. So probably asking, how does an EFI guy get 2 Victor Juniors? All right, so what happened? I was looking for a Victor Junior to put on the white car. What is it? It's over in the facility right now. It's a white 93LX hatch, and the Skylar car. You might have heard Rod mention it. So Rod's keeping it over there. I was thinking I put a 331 in it that's in the LTD now after I go through it, and then have it carbureted. So I put a post on the corral asking if anybody had a Victor Jr. Because I didn't want to buy a new one. And one guy says, "Yeah, I'm going to be taking my engine out in December." This was early December. He said he's going to take his engine out late December, and then I could have that intake. I said, all right. So it got to be middle of January. I didn't hear nothing back from him, and I think Anthony Tatum texted me, or I texted him, or something came up. So he said he was replacing the intake on his car, and if I paid him what he paid for it, I could have it. So I said, well, okay. So go ahead and do that. So I bought it, and then about 2 weeks after I bought it, the guy in corral messaged me like, "Hey, I got the intake off. Some things came up, so I was a little behind, but I got it off now." I was like, "Oh shit!" I didn't want to tell him, "No, I don't want it," because I said I will take it. I kind of gave my word I would take it. So I think, well, we'll figure something out. If worse comes to worse, I can sell one of them. So I got that one too, and so here I am. So I got 2 Victor Juniors. I told Eric I would port one as long as he gave me his other one back. So this is done now, so I can take it over to him, or he can come get it, or we'll figure something out. Hopefully his heads get done at the machine shop this week, and then I can pick up the heads too and bring them to him. So that's where it's at. That's a backstory on this thing. Like I said, I didn't plan on having 2, but that's just the way it worked out. And I think that's about it. Oh, flip this back around again. That guy, I don't know if any of y'all like the factory appearing stock stuff, but I do. And there's a guy on there on YouTube. He's got a pretty good sized channel. I think it's called Horsepower Depot, but he's got a thing. He's got that flipping the phone around down to an art. I'm still learning how to do that. So anyway, stock Victor Jr. weighs 16.4 pounds. This weighs 15. I wasn't trying to get weight out of it. That was not the objective. The objective was just trying to make it more efficient. And of course, taking these things out, not a whole bunch of weight by themselves, but a little bit here and there, just like getting weight out of the car. So that's where I'm at. I forgot to tell you, I use my engine analyzer program to calculate the taper. All you got to do is put in the diameter, your height, width and height, rounded rectangular at your outlet to the head, and then they put in your dimensions for the inlet here at the inlet of the port, and it does the ciphering for you, so I ain't got to carry the knot. And the average runner length is 5.15. You got 7. Number 1 was 7 inches. Then 2 is 3.62. 3 is 3 1/4. And 4 is 6.75. And that's just putting the tape measure in, trying to run it on the back side, and then this side, and then kind of averaging it. It's not like super scientific. A piece of thread or something like that would probably work a little better, because the back sides are not like perfectly straight up and down. They're kind of leaned in a little bit. But I measured them all the same, so it's consistent. Alrighty, just want to string these 2 together and get this wrapped up, and then I can start back on the engine for the red car. All right, appreciate y'all. Later on.